Welcome to another episode of Wine 101 on the road. We're here in southern Arizona doing a series of little episodes that talk about the AVA that was first to Arizona, that being Sonoyta and Elgin, Arizona. We're here in Elgin with one of the oldest and most revered winemakers around. We're at Callaghan Vineyards, and this is Kent Callaghan. Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you. Thanks for coming out.
So, you started this almost like a pioneer. You were one of the first, weren't you?
Well, not really, but Gordon Dutt started the whole industry off in 1979, 1980 period with some investors, and then my parents and I planted this vineyard in 90. Started winemaking in 91, so we're about 10 years later.
So had your father had been in the industry prior? Or?
No, he had been a home winemaker and just enjoyed the process. And I was effectively right out of college, so they just asked me if I wanted to move down here and help them plant a vineyard and start a winery. So alcohol production is not a bad idea, you know, when you're fresh out of college.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, you came down, you helped your dad, you got started, and then you kind of honed your skills and really, you know, took this job on full.
Oh yeah, well no, I moved down here in 90 and helped plant the vineyard. I mean, I've dug all the holes here actually. But yeah, our first vintage was 91, and it was definitely a steep learning curve for several years actually. But it's fun. I enjoy working outside, and obviously I enjoy wine too, so that helps. Yeah, and aesthetic at the end of the day.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
And this is a family affair for you guys as well, mm-hmm. right?
Yeah, my parents got out of the business in 96. I'm remarried now. Lisa and I got married in 2014, so she's quite integral now. Tasting room, customer service in general. She's done a great job.
And then you have your daughters involved now?
Daughters. Caitlin's actually in the back right now helping us press. In fact, she pressed her own wine today from 2017. Cool.
Now, is that going to be a Callaghan, or is she going to have her own label?
Oh, no. She's been made since she was born. So 94 was when she was born. She was born in the middle of Cabernet Franc harvest, and so we've started making a wine named after her based on Cabernet Franc for many years. Don't make it every year, only when it's really good.
When it's good?
Yes.
So your father came down here with you to dig all the holes, but you got to put something in those holes. So what varietals did you start with? And if I may ask, why did you start with them?
Bordeaux varieties, just because that was generally accepted as the best varieties back in 90. Obviously that's changed a little bit, but certainly in this area. But a little bit unusual in that we planted not just Cabernet, but Merlot and Cabernet Franc as well. And then we had 2 acres of Zinfandel because we love the variety. We'd been drinking a lot of California Zins, and that subsequently proved to be a very big mistake.
So Zinfandel didn't work out?
No, it rots like crazy in Arizona. Summer rain, it's not a fan of summer rain, very thin skins, and that's one of the reasons why it works in California. They rarely get summer rain,
sure.
So yeah,
sure.
Much better suited to that area than it is here.
But the noble varietals, the Cab Franc, how did that do?
Franc is very good, actually. Just pressed that today, too. That also still goes into Caitlin's wine as well.
Okay.
Merlot, not so great, and in my opinion anyway, so we're getting rid of that, going to Tannat in that particular place, in that particular spot in the vineyard.
Tannat is actually, I think, making a comeback or becoming popular or more popular. What's the characteristic of that wine?
Tannic, as everyone knows, deep color, black, very black fruit, blackberry, a little bit of spice. Often here has a saline character. We also pressed that today as well from our place. Planted that in 2008, so it's the oldest planting in Arizona. But it's a great variety, and I think you are seeing people continue to plant up north as well, mm-hmm. which is interesting. Retains acidity pretty well in Arizona, so certainly one of the things that we will probably be hanging our hat on.
And you do 100% Tannat, or?
We do.
Okay.
Yeah,
and then do you use it in a blend at all as well?
I have a couple of times, but it's one of those things often does not actually contribute, in my opinion. It actually dumbs the blend down, tends to dominate it and make it less complex, more one-dimensional. So I tend to keep it out when I can. In very small amounts, it can contribute some interesting stuff.
Okay. So you plant. You've got now your varietals. They're coming up. Any problems with soil when you first started?
Oh, Sonoyta, yeah. The Sonoyta is notorious for having a huge bicarbonate load. A lot of people say limestone. It's not technically limestone, but it's basically has the same effect. Calcium tying up nutrients. Vine vigor in Sonoyta tends to be much lower than just about everywhere else that everyone knows about in Arizona, Wilcox in particular. Yields are lower. So the iron-rich, this red soil that we have out here tends to add tannin as well. So the wines from Sonoyta are quite distinctive in that sense. They are not fruit-driven wines. They tend to be fruit is in the background, structure, spice, earth notes in the foreground. So it's very unusual. I shouldn't say unusual. It's different, quite different than the other zones.
So do you do anything to mitigate the soil or to enhance or to?
We try to keep them alive, yeah. So, yeah. Phosphorus is low, so we ameliorate it with phosphoric acid, which helps acidify the soil as well. And
okay, and does
adds
it
a nutrient that
brings the pH down? And
it helps, yeah.
It helps.
Yeah. Because you got to remember that the water that we're irrigating with, which is essential certainly early in the season, is also loaded with bicarbonate. So you're adding a bicarbonate load to something that already has a huge amount of bicarbonate. So you have to do something, or you're not going to have a viable vineyard in a few years. So, yeah.
So you've got your vines all planted now, and you're learning the learning curve. When was the first production? When did you actually have some wine
from
out?
This vintage? Well, the first vintage was '91, all from purchased fruit. Most of which came from Al Buell and an Al Buell's vineyard in Wilcox, the old Dos Cabezas vineyard. Okay. And then '92 was the first vintage from our vineyard here. So, yeah, '92.
And that was well received?
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of those early wines were very well received.
If I think back 20 years and go into grocery stores and first starting to see Arizona wines on the shelves, Callaghan, the label, it's similar, the same label.
Right.
It's been recognizable to me for that long.
Yeah.
So you've been doing this for quite a while.
Yeah, this is 27 vintages.
How many cases are you producing?
I've been in my head saying 2,000 a year, 2,000 cases a year, so pretty small, but we've actually been making about 3,000 a year for 3 or 4 years. People keep offering me fruit, and it's hard to resist.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's fun to play with, varieties you've not, like Alianico from Todd and Kelly's vineyard, or Cimarron vineyard that Dick Erath planted years ago. Great variety. I think that actually is probably undoubtedly one of the best red varieties in Arizona. It just needs to be more widely planted.
And he's had that there how long?
Dick planted, I believe, in 2005, and I think Todd and Kelly bought it from him. I really don't remember when. Probably 2011, because he still owned it in 10. So yeah, I would say probably 11, 12, somewhere in that period.
And are you selling any of your fruit?
No, I think I've sold maybe a ton of fruit in 20, whatever it is, 27 years.
So you're using everything you can get your hands on. That's good.
Yeah, our yields here are pretty small.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to sell fruit and could even cover your costs. So, yeah, we use it all.
Oh, so it's a struggle.
Yeah, it's a little better than it used to be, in fact.
So what do you do in your spare time? It's kind of a joke to a winemaker.
No, not really. But we certainly have more downtime than I used to. We have good help now, and we like to eat and drink wine. Drink other people's wine. Wine research, we like to call it.
So when I came in here, one of the first things I noticed is there's a cookbook, a pretty nice cookbook with some gorgeous photos and so forth. Tell me about that. That's also a family deal.
Yeah, it was. So and something I would recommend you don't do, we planted a vineyard and put a restaurant in another town in Sierra Vista, 45 minutes from here, in the same spring. So don't do that. But yeah, my mom was pretty well known in these parts for her food, and it was a great place to go. It started in Sierra Vista. It was there for 2 years. It was 2 years in Elgin, and then 2 years in the town in Sonoyta. They moved again, and then they got out of it in '96, about the same time that '97 actually, about the same time they got out of the vineyard and winery business. They were retired. In quotes. Yeah.
But still working and helping out here. So there's a cookbook. This tasting room area is just wonderful because it's got all kinds of different things, including all these wines. I'd like to come over and maybe talk, pick up some bottles and talk about the different varietals.
Sure.
So we're going to go ahead and move over and be right back. How many varietals or how many different wines do you bottle?
In a given year, probably about 8, I would say. So we have multiple vintages out, so that's why there are a number. And we do limit people, so it's not a free-for-all at the tasting room.
Yeah, you don't get all these when you come to taste. So if we can, starting at, say, a white, give me an idea of 1 or 2 of the varietals that you have and that you're making here.
So the state white wine, named after Lisa, originally based on Viognier and Riesling, now includes Malvasia Bianca, Marzon, Northern Rhone variety, Rouzon as well, also from the Northern Rhone, and then also snippets of things like Petit Manseng, very esoteric white variety from the same area that Tannat comes from, Jurançon, and then a little Falanghina, actually, another esoteric variety, in this case from Campania in Italy. So it's a field blend. They're literally interplanted. So it's an interesting wine, and that one that we've been hanging our hat on, at least in Sonoyta, for quite a while, since '98. And then we also make a Malvasia Bianca, straight Malvasia Bianca from Maynard, what is now Maynard's Vineyard, Maynard Keenan. What used to be called the Dos Cabezas Vineyard is now called the Buell Memorial Vineyards, named after the folks that started, our old friends. Then we have Mourvedre. So we'll go skip over to Mourvedre now. Although we have some nice rosés. I love the rosés, which obviously everybody knows are great things for Arizona weather now.
And the blend on the rosé?
The one we make the most of, we just call it the Happy Lady label, is Graziano and Grenache, which, nice combo. But then getting into reds, Mourvedre is something else that we're known for. Again, first planting in Arizona back in '97. People used to ask me why we planted it, because no one can pronounce the name, and it actually has become one of our, but because if we were trying to sell it on a store shelf, that might be a real issue. But since we sell most of the wine direct, we can tell people about it, and it actually becomes a selling point when they don't know something that they like. So it's funny how you can flip that one right around. Grenache, everybody in Arizona, I think, is a fan of Grenache, does well here. It's a crowd-pleasing style that is also really food-friendly, so a great one, I think. And for people that like Pinot Noir, not going to do very well in Arizona, in my opinion, doesn't do very well in Arizona, this is a perfect thing to use in its place at the table. Then we have Graziano, another, all these blending, the varieties that are where they come from in the old world are blending grapes that most people don't know about, do extremely well in a slightly warmer climate, generally warmer climate in Arizona. So Graziano is another blender from Rioja that produces well, actually. It's a good producer, solid producer, buds out late, skips frost, it misses a lot of frost that hit other varieties, and it's pretty tough. So that's another one you're going to see a lot. You are already seeing a lot more bottles of Graziano being produced in Arizona, and you'll continue to see that. What else do we? Oh, Petit Verdot. So that's actually the one we have out right now is from Maynard's, again, from the Buell Memorial Vineyard. Totally different than the Petit Verdot that we grow here. Fruit-driven, easygoing. Ours is intense, spicy, peppery. Very interesting. But that goes into Caitlin's wine, generally speaking. And at the end, we have one that is in honor of my folks, Padres blend. I'm not a baseball fan, actually. It has nothing to do with baseball. It means parents as well, since they're the ones who fortunately guided me into the vineyard and winery business. We decided to make one in their honor. But that's based on Graziano as well, in every vintage now. So.
Now, in any given year, you've got several blends we've just mentioned here. Any given year, is there a recipe? It's going to be this, and this, or there's a tasting that goes on. Who's involved in that decision? Do you guys have a table? Is it the family? Is it just you?
Well, I'll ask Lisa's advice too, but yeah, it's generally just me. I think, I think most of the people that are in the business for what I would consider to be the right reason, which is they love wine. You want people that have their own style, just like chef or whatever you want to call it, or
Absolutely.
want to look at. So I don't want a panel trying to, I don't care. We make the wines that we are passionate about, and then you try to find, if you're not an idiot, you find enough people that enjoy that, not just enjoy it, but actually love it. Because we're small, we can't compete with Behringer, or we don't want to. We don't want to be in that business. So you hopefully find a subset of the wine drinking population that actually really loves what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And we have.
So how many, I might have even asked you before, how many different varietals do you have currently on
I
that?
really don't know.
You don't know?
Probably in commercial quantities, probably 20. It keeps life interesting.
And then you still get to play a little bit.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. Have a little fun.
So now, do you do all your lab work, all your testing, all your bottling, all your aging, everything here?
Bottling and very basic pH, that kind of a little bit of SO2 testing here, but you send it off to a lab in California for the real stuff. Yeah.
Real stuff.
So you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want to make a mistake and screw something up. So yeah, solid numbers from a reputable lab are essential, at least to me. Yeah.
So this year it's October 12th,
Mm-hmm.
and are all the fruit in?
No, picking Cabernet. This is pretty typical. Actually, it's a little earlier than usual. We usually don't finish until the third week of October, but we're getting close to finishing now. So this is the best. I've never seen a vintage this easy. It was a little problematic early on, and it was more so for the folks in Cochise County because they were closer to ripeness on a lot of things. So late July, early August. It was very early for them. I think it was the earliest vintage most of them have seen ever, maybe. But once we got through that period, we were all worried. But once we got through that, there was nothing really. Certainly in Sonoma, we've had no issue ever since the beginning of August. Yeah, I've never seen this stretch with zero problem.
So yeah, there wasn't. We know that there wasn't a lot of people that are watching and that work around know that the rains kind of stopped. They kind of dried out for a while. So
well, we've had some pretty rough ones lately.
Yeah.
14 and 15 were crazy. Nothing I've ever seen. So it's nice to every 10 years we get an easy one.
So what's your style? If I can, I know there's a lot of styles here, but your style, let's say on a cab, or let's say on one of the Bordeaux's, what type of alcohol are you looking for? Is it just what the grape gives you?
So let's take Caitlin's, which is the Bordeaux blend that's inverted. It's got mostly Petit Verdot, because I think that's the best one, most representative of the area, or what I think of as what should be. So Caitlin's is going to be anywhere from 2012, it was 13.5% alcohol. 2009, it was 15.7.
Oh my.
2013, it was 15.3. This year, it'll probably be right around 14, just like the 16. They're both about 14.2.
So if you look, and this is a Wine 101 show, and if someone's looking at a kit or some way to make wine, it says when the bricks is this, but you've got to be considering all types of other things, like how the lignification and the maturity of the seeds and all that. So
and weather.
You go out and you walk these vineyards and you're chewing on seeds, or?
Yeah, I walk them. Usually, I don't know. I've just been doing it for a long time, so usually no.
So how do we get a hold of you if we wanted to come down and pay a visit, or even look at your website?
CallaghanVineyards.com. Best email for me, is just first and last name without punctuation, KentCallaghan@gmail.com. And Callaghan's with a G in front of the H. So,
okay.
Thursday through Sunday, 11 to 4. Yeah, we're closed only basically for Christmas or New Year's if it happens to fall on one of those days.
Well, when you look in the Arizona wine scene, your name seems to be in almost every magazine article or mentioned.
Because we've survived that long.
Very cynical, very cynical. No, actually, his wines are serious. His commitment, as you can tell, is very serious. It's a family business here, and you owe yourself the chance to taste some really good stuff. We usually like to ask you, and I know this is kind of off the cuff, and we didn't ask you in advance, but if there was a wine on a given night, what's one of your go-tos? Like, I'm going to grab this bottle and I'm going to go have a burger. I'm going to have a lamb chop. I mean, is there one that you think's a perfect pairing?
You mean just for generally? You go for the Grenache, 2014 Grenache. Spicy, aromatic, not at all heavy. But yeah, I love that wine.
It's a good food wine.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, thank you very much. I'd like to thank everybody that watched our episode. As you know, you can watch other episodes on prescottmediacenter.org/wine101. And when you go on there with the /wine101, it'll bring down a box that you can select any or all of the videos that you've seen. We appreciate you following us, and we hope that this will maybe give you a little better insight into what's going on down in southern Arizona at these wineries. There's some really amazing stuff, and you never know until you get out on the road.